Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to strongly oppose the Roscom Amendment, which would force a federal ban on the territories without our consent. I am sure Congressman Roscom would not want an amendment forced on his constituents without his consent or input. All 5 members from the territories oppose this amendment, as cockfighting is a culturally significant practice in many of our islands. As importantly, this amendment dictates to the territories without any opportunity for our constituents or their elected representatives to have any say. Guam and other territories have enacted local laws to regulate cockfighting. Congress should not force this on more than 4 million Americans. And are you aware? We are denied the right of a vote against this amendment on this House floor. So many issues affecting the territories require Congress's attention: disaster recovery, poverty, health care, infrastructure, education, and equal voting rights on this floor. That's what we should be thinking about, and the House should be spending more time addressing these priorities. I was not consulted on this matter, and neither were any of the other representatives from the territories. This is not fair, Mr. Speaker. This is not fair. Yes, I agree. We should all be treated equally. Well, then why aren't the territories allowed to come down on the floor and vote for final passage? That's the question I want to ask you. Let's be fair all the way. I ask the sponsor to withdraw this amendment so that we can provide our input, and maybe we can work toward an agreement. Otherwise, I urge all members to oppose the Roscom Amendment.
Thank you. I thank you for the opportunity to express my strong opposition to the amendment. It is deeply unfair to the United States territories and contrary to the original intent of the federal law in question, the Animal Welfare Act amendment, under which states have always been defined to include the territories. First, the characterization of this amendment as closing a loophole and bringing the territories in with the states is highly misleading. The Animal Welfare Act adequately addresses interstate and foreign commerce of fowl for gaming purposes. The intent of the federal law in this area has always been to aid states and other local law enforcement in jurisdiction where game fowling events are illegal, and to prohibit the transport of animals from areas where they are in fact allowed. The reason that there is a ban in all 50 states is not because of federal law, but because of states' laws, and those states have banned them in their states. So for the federal government to impose that on the territories at this time, I believe is deeply unfair. This is a highly regulated, cultural and historic activity in the territories. Let's not forget that the real author of this bill is the Humane Society, which, if the federal government gets into this, becomes a slippery slope, as the Humane Society also wants to ban sporting activities or hunting activities in which animals hunt another animal. Is the gentleman from Illinois going to then offer an amendment to stop dogs who assist humans in looking for ducks and in other places? No. But all of the territories' delegates are against this amendment. And for someone from another state to offer an amendment to restrict something in the U.S. territories is deeply unfair. At the last hearing of the committee in which this issue was addressed, which was 9 sessions ago, the Humane Society also testified that legislation at state level should be the proper fora to ultimately decide whether fowl gaming is permitted within those states' borders. And again, states also meaning territories. I agree, and so should this body. If you only were true to agree to that and the well-documented legislative history, we wouldn't be here. And hopefully we'd be talking about much more important matters related to the Farm Bill, such as SNAP, such as school lunches, such as subsidies to our farmers. Those are the things that should be in this Farm Bill, not this legislation.
Gentlewoman is recognized. for 1
Thank
minute.
you, Mr. Chairman, for yielding. And we would never have this debate if we got the opportunity to have a public hearing on the issue. So I oppose this amendment because this is more federal regulation for territories. Cockfighting is already a highly regulated industry in Puerto Rico. Originally regulated in 1933, then in 2007. We actually have offices regulating this issue that creates $18 million industry on the island with 27,000 direct and indirect jobs. And already the Farm Bill permits that cockfighting will be prohibited in the states and interstate commerce, but can be legal if the state of the territory authorizes and regulates the event. And that's the situation with the territories. We regulate the event, and we actually, this proposed legislation will create a highly regulated industry to go underground and go to the streets where there's no control at all. Our constituents will never be held on this issue, and we are looking for that opportunity. I do believe that we are not having the opportunity to be treated equally. That's the reason I oppose this amendment, and we should have at least a public hearing on this issue. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentlewoman yields back.